Today I'm doing Wherefore Art Thou on freeCodeCamp. This is the intermediate algorithm scripting section. So basically we want to make a function that looks through an array of objects, which is all of these, and that's the first argument, so collection, and returns an array of all objects that have a matching name and value pairs against the second argument, which is this one here, otherwise called source. That's been passed in. Each name and value pair of the source object has to be present in the object from the collection if it's to be included in the returned array. So just as an example here, we've got an array of objects here, and the second argument, so that's the collection highlighted, and the second argument of the source is last Capulet, an object here. You basically look through all of these and only return the objects that have both of the name and value pair matching. So that would be the third array, because we've got last and Capulet matching last Capulet over here, whereas the other two objects have last and null, and then last and Montag or Montagu. I'm not sure how you spell that, but then you must return, so the third object from the array, because they match. So I think we're using that example here. So what I'll do is just console.log wrap around the object or an array, and then we've got an object basically. So we've got an array of objects, which is this, and then the object that we're checking through. So that's the source, the others are the collection. So for this, I'm actually going to sort of kind of go over what they're suggesting. And obviously they haven't given any hints here, but we can come up with a solution using the filter method, which I think works quite well, because basically we're looking through this array of objects and actually removing the ones that don't match on the name or sort of the key and the value of the object, right? So we can just do a simple return collection. And if I obviously just do that, it just returns that original array of objects. But if we do .filter, and if you remember, this will take in a sort of a parameter. So this is the individual object as it's going through the array, because this is an array here. So filter's an array method. And if I sort of console.log the object, we'll just see those individual objects printed out here. So each of these. So what we want to do at this point is actually do a for loop. So we're then going to loop through basically this object at the end, however many times there are sort of objects in the collection, because we're filtering through, if that makes sense. So we'll just do a for of loop. So let key of source, and if I do that, console.log key, I believe we should see, no, is it of source? For key of source. So I just have to consult my notes for this, because I just wrote it down. Oh, of course. So because we want to go through the source, this is just the object, right? But we actually want to get the keys. So we need to wrap this in a object.keys. And if I do that, we should then get, so we get the key of that source object, and I guess there could be more than one, but that's why it's looping 3 times, is because there's 3 objects in the array that we're originally filtering, because we're nesting this for loop in. So here is basically where we can perform the if statement check, and this is going to return false if it doesn't meet the criteria, and if it does, we'll return true. And basically by returning false, it will remove that object from the collection, and then as you can see here, we're returning collection. So because we're filtering out these objects, that's what we'll return. So basically we're trying to handle the false cases. So the first one would be where the key doesn't match, and then the second one is where the value doesn't match. So if we do the first one first, if it doesn't match object.has own property, and that is key. I think we can then return false. And I'll just go above this line and sort of console.log and just do object, and then do not object.has own property, and we pass in the key here. So you can see here these are all false, and I'm thinking, yeah, object.has own property. So if I just actually take off the string and put the object, we can see here we're putting in .has own project, and that's the key. So that's the object, this is the key, and this should actually be true, I'd have thought, because each of these do have a key matching the source one. But let's keep going, because I do know there's also, we'll do an OR here, and then we'll also do if object, and then the key is not equal to source. Also a key. I just need to get the spelling right. Else we return true, but we actually do this outside of the if statement here, because basically we're returning false if these aren't met, but otherwise we can return true. But as you can see here, the brackets for the filter are still sort of lit up, so we're outside of the for loop and we return true, and then this will basically just return whatever's left in the collection array after we've gone through this logic and removed any of the ones where the key doesn't match, or the value as well. And we're using the key that we get from the for loop to go through each of these. So we'll do obviously Romeo against Capulet and Montague against Capulet, you know, each of these values, and where it will hopefully line up would be last and Capulet. And essentially we're not checking for the truthiness of that, we're actually basically removing all the false values and then returning true. So if I hit enter, it's running all the tests, and there we go. We can see it passes this one, but you know, I think it's a little bit complicated, and they're certainly getting more difficult now on the intermediate challenges. But this is just one solution to the problem. I'm sure there are many others, so let me know if you have any sort of better solutions in the comments below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.